Hey there, YouTube. I'm the guy with a hat and wearing a shirt. You're the viewer, and this is going to be a few tips on how to try to improve in whatever game you're playing, whether that be a TCG, for me, personally, Pokemon BGC as well, um, and just a few tips to help you with that, as well as helping you try not to get discouraged along the way. So hopefully you guys take these tips and it helps you. This is a video I've wanted to make for a while, especially since I've been in a little slump myself as far as topping events and things like that. And I thought this would be the perfect time to do it with the format going as long as it is and BT8 around the corner for anybody that plays Digimon TCG, and a ban list maybe around the corner for anybody that plays Yu-Gi-Oh! A lot of this is just going to be some points I have written on my phone, and hopefully these are some things that help you. And hopefully I can give you some insight as somebody who has done prominently well in a couple of these avenues. So we're going to talk about things that will help you improve as a player first, and then we're going to talk about things that will help you not get discouraged in the games that you're playing. Because the thing you hate to see is when people play in TCGs, right? Things aren't going their way for like a format or two, and then they're just like, you know what, I'm done, I quit, I'll never be good at this. I really enjoyed it, but if I can't play at this competitive level, I don't want to play anymore. And I really want to try to find a way to help those people out specifically, because I don't want, especially the Digimon TCG community, to die out from people getting discouraged in their playing. So we'll start with how to improve your gameplay. I have about 5 tips for each of these. It's not a best top 5 or whatever type of video you want to call it. It's just tips that I had on my mind and I felt would be beneficial. So first thing I would say is find a circle. And what I mean by a circle is find a group of players. It doesn't have to be a lot, maybe like 3, 4, 5 players who are at your skill level or better. Try to find somebody that is going to, or a group of people that is going to push you into being better. And try to find people that are a little bit different from you and your type of thinking. Because if you get into an echo chamber type of thought and everyone just agrees with your idea, like, hey man, I think Grand Kawagamon and Jessmon is broken, and everybody agrees with you, and they're like, yeah, Grand Kawagamon and Jessmon, best idea ever. You probably won't get that far. So you have to have somebody in your group that will be like, hey, I don't think this is a good idea, but make sure those people also give you reasonings for bad ideas or for good ideas. Hey, I think Judgment of the Blade at 3 would be really strong in Just One because of these reasons. Or I think maybe 2 would be better because of these reasons. Or maybe 0. I wouldn't recommend playing 0, but you guys get the picture. So find a circle. It can be close friends. It can be people that play the game at a high level that are willing to put in the time with you. It doesn't have to be a large group. It doesn't have to be name players. It just has to be people that want to improve together and that can get together at certain times and really put effort in. So I think finding that circle is going to be the biggest thing, because there's no one in this game that is good on their own. They always have some type of people around them to help them out with that. So if you ever think, oh, this person's really good at Digimon, they must have got to this plateau by themselves, or they're such a genius and things like that. It's not the case, guys. Everyone has a playtesting group. Everyone has a circle. Everyone has people that they have help them. So you just have to go out and try to find those people. And if you can't find those people, reach out to maybe some content creators or maybe some, people that do have their names out there and be like, hey, I'm trying to learn. I found in this community that a lot of those people will help you out. When I first started playing in 1.5, right before BT4, George, who was on GFG, he's now part of DA, was my mentor. And he helped me get fairly good at the game. And he was just like, hey, you shouldn't do this, you should do this. And then we would talk about things. He would let me ask questions. And then he would ask me questions on why I thought these things would work or why this wouldn't work. And from there, it set a precedent to how we wanted to play in the future. So without George, I wouldn't be at the caliber of player that I am myself. And I know a lot of the other top players wouldn't be at the caliber of player that they are. That's why you see shoutouts at the end of deck profiles, because having that circle is so crucial. So get out and have a circle, guys. Number 2, study the format. You don't have to do it yourself. if you find that circle, and let's say you have 5 people, right? Have each person study something about the format, because you don't want to put the workload all on one person. If you can find 5 people, find different things, and put those clues together as what you guys can think is the best deck, which a lot of, piecing together best deck or the best build of the best deck helps win tournaments, then you'll do really well in those said tournaments. Or you'll do really well as just somebody who wants to play casual, but you want to play like a little bit more of a high competitive type of play. You don't have to play in tournaments, to enjoy the game, but sometimes you want to play a little bit more optimally. A lot of the gameplay for myself is finding these puzzles in matches, and how can I, do well in these puzzles of matches that I'm playing. So study the format. If you think next set Imperial is the best deck, maybe try to build a deck that counters Imperial, or try to build a Imperial deck so good that the mirror always loses. Or you just, find that, hey, Imperial isn't the best deck in next format. Maybe this is the best deck in next format. Through like studying and like all the data we have out there, like Digimon meta, people on YouTube like Wong and like Steven that put out these videos ahead of time that just, hey, these will be the best decks maybe. Here's a tier list for you, just a little breakdown. And then you study those decks, see what makes each of them work, and then go from there. So I think studying the format is very important. When you don't study the format and when you're blindsided by these meta choices, that's where a lot of your losses can come from. Because you can build a deck, like just net deck somebody, and then not know how to play against the deck, or not know how to play your deck itself. So I think studying the format is very important. Number 3, build optimally. So this is something that everyone struggles with. I struggle with myself. A lot of my teammates would struggle with this. I know a lot of like top players would struggle with this. There's no one way to build correctly, but you build to the best of your ability and the best of your group's ability, as well as trying to find the most consistent way to do what your deck wants to do. It's not trying to find the most consistent deck, because let's say the most consistent deck is like red vanilla Omni, right? Like it gets to Omni every turn, but maybe Omni is just really bad into the format. I don't think just because it's consistent doesn't mean it's good. But you want to find your idea. So let's say I want to play Imperial next set. I'll find the best way to play Imperial without throwing in these cards that I don't really need to throw in. Like I don't need, I don't know, Howling Memory Boost maybe, because my deck just like pushes damage. I don't need to play like weird one-off option cards like Rattlestar or like things like that, because maybe I don't need the removal, and that removal isn't going to be beneficial for myself. So I think building your deck to do what you want it to do specifically is what you should do. If you go, hey, I want to build my deck to get to Imperial as fast as possible. Okay, I'll play all of these cards that get to Imperial as fast as possible. And that's what building optimally is finding your deck idea, building a core around your deck idea, and then going with your like extenders, your defensive cards, everything like that. This applies to not just Digimon, but Yu-Gi-Oh as well, and in some cases Pokemon BGC if you do play that as well, because you'll build a team. You'll be like, here's my core, but there's this core out there that stops me, so I need these defensive Pokemon to help my core, but they also have to synergize with that. So it's a very casual conversation, guys, that we'll drink in between. So yeah, build optimally. Number 4, test with the intent of learning. I see a lot of people go in servers, be like, hey, you want to play test? Do you guys want to play? And I'm guilty of this myself sometimes, because I'm such a competitive person, where like they'll lose, but they'll just blame like RNG, or like, oh, hey, I didn't do this right, or hey, you got lucky with this, or whatever other case, right? Instead of trying to learn why it didn't work. I was recently playing a match, and my one deck wasn't doing well against this other deck, and I was just like, all right, well, my opponent is high rolling me. Like, he's high rolled me again. He's high rolled me again. At some point, it can't be high rolling. At some point, you have to realize something with your deck isn't working, and you should be learning from the losses that you're taking, or learning from your victories. because when you learn from testing is when you start to build more optimally, and then that's when you can help benefit the people around you in your testing group. So I think learning while you're testing is important. I think playing open-handed is a very good way to learn because you and your opponent can pick out your best plays, and not focusing on winning in playtesting is important. I think focusing on winning in tournaments is better, and I think that should be your goal, right? But winning in playtesting shouldn't matter. It's making the optimal plays, building the optimal deck, and then letting RNG do whatever it does because there will be some luck, in these card games that you play. But yeah, so just test with the intent of learning. Don't try to just be like, I won 17 games straight. But why did you win those 17 games? So definitely try that. And number 5, speaking of try everything. I'm a big fan of there's no bad idea in card games or video games, whatever you choose to play competitively, until you prove it's a bad idea. So maybe Grand Coagumon in Jesmon is broken, and we just never tried it. Try it. If it doesn't work, okay. If it did work, great. You have a deck advantage over your opponents. Or maybe the play style that you play is going to do a lot better for you into the meta that you're playing. An example would be like Blue Hybrid. If you're playing a Blue Hybrid mirror, but you have a way to play that the standard Blue Hybrid deck isn't playing, then maybe it will give you that slight advantage to be able to beat the mirror, which would be probably the most popular deck in the format, right? So it's not only in deck building, but it's also in the technical play that you have to try everything. Hey, maybe calling this guy first is a better play than evolving this guy in the back turn 1, because maybe this gets me more advantage than this will get me. Or hey, maybe playing this tamer is better than playing this Digimon in the front. So try everything. Don't be afraid to give it your best with whatever you guys do, and look at all of your options. So we have things like DigimonCard.dev. We have things like Dueling Book, where you can literally look at every card in the game. Just go through your options. Take some time, maybe an hour or two. I don't think it will take that long, especially for Digimon. For Yu-Gi-Oh, it might take you a couple days. But for Digimon, I think it will take a couple hours, maybe, to just go through, read the cards, try to find that piece that will fit into the deck that you're building, and then try it. And then if it doesn't work, move on to the next thing, or move on to the next deck, So that's the thing that I think holds a lot of people back when they're deck building is they're not willing to try things. They're like, all right, this is what won. This is the definitive best deck. This is the definitive best build. In reality, maybe the person got lucky, or maybe it's not the best build a week from now, So try everything. Maybe try to build something that counters what that is, and then you'll shift the meta on your own. So try everything, guys. That's going to be it for the tips that I think are going to help you improve as far as a player. Now I just want to talk about a couple things to help you to not get discouraged in playing. So recently, I have bubbled quite a few events. I think I made it to finals in 2 of Mario's Gaming Worlds tournament recently. I didn't do well in Ultimate Cup, probably because of my lack of practice. I bubbled 2 or 3 GFGs in a row. I got just outside of the prizing whatever going X1. And I can blame that on tiebreakers, but there's definitely the games that I lost I could have won. Even going X1, if you don't win all the way, you're not guaranteed these prizings. You're not guaranteed doing well. So I can look at it as, oh, hey, tiebreakers really screwed me every single time. Or I could be there were things I could have done to win the game that I lost to make it so that tiebreakers wouldn't matter anyway. So, and it goes along with what I want to talk about, where I didn't really feel up to playing this format for the rest of the duration of the format, because I thought this format is dumb. I can't wait to move on to the next thing. I'll do better in the next thing. And it's been a little bit of a feeling for myself ever since my personal rise in BT5. So I did fairly well in the BT4 with the help of George and Nobu and people around me helping me test and improve me as a player because I didn't really know too much about Digimon at the time. And then we really took off in BT5 with like Lord Knight and Lord Knight Wargray and the deck builds there. And I felt like I just couldn't lose tournaments or I couldn't not top a tournament. Then BT6 came around. I was still on that momentum. I was doing fairly well. Justmon was my deck of choice, and it was fine. And then EX1 came around, and I think I topped maybe like 3 tournaments in like a month. And I was just like, okay, well, something's going wrong here. And then BT7 comes around, and I win the first tournament that I play in, and I top a few tournaments along the way. I didn't do well in the DigiFest, but that's because I chose to play a deck I wasn't experienced with, which was my own era. You should always play the deck that you're experienced with, guys, as opposed to what you think is the best deck as well. Because sometimes just knowing your deck better and knowing your outs better than your opponent can be a huge advantage. So there was that, and like BT7 I did okay, but toward the end I'm starting to like bubble more events, and I'm just like, man, this is like really discouraging. So I start playing BT8, and then in testing I'm like, I'm doing okay, but I'm not doing as well as I feel like I should have been doing in BT8. So I'm just like, man, I really am kind of burnt out on Digimon right now. Like, what happened between BT5 and BT8 where I go from like doing amazing to like doing well to doing okay to doing just fine. Like, I'm not at the level that I want to be at. And it can get discouraging, right? It can make you not really want to play the game. It can make you like not really care anymore. And when you don't want to put effort into things, then you start to like backslide on that itself, right? So that is the real reason I wanted to like put this segment of the video in, and no matter how long it takes, it might even be longer than the first 5 points, because I feel like there's a lot of times players get like this, right? Like, I won't mention any names because I don't want to discourage anybody, but like there are players that will do like well in certain formats and then do just like terrible in the past like 2 or 3, and they're just like, man, maybe this isn't for me. Maybe I don't want to play anymore. Maybe I'm just washed up. There's, you know, whatever I was doing doesn't work anymore. I don't have any more tricks. So the first point I guess I'm going to give to fighting discouragement in the game is to reflect and maybe look back at the format that you did really well in, or the format that you did best in, right? Because when you look back and you're like, okay, I did well in, for myself personally, it'd be BT5. Why did I do well in BT5? What innovations did I make? How much playtesting was I doing? Because I've definitely been putting in less work now than I did in BT5 when it was all webcam tournaments and we had COVID, you know, so like everyone was still mostly stuck in their house for an extension of it, I guess. How was my playtesting? Am I playtesting worse now than I was back then? Is my circle weaker? Do I have to like try to tighten up my circle? So reflect on what you did well, and then look at how you're doing now and try to find the medium to where, hey, you know, this worked for me then, maybe this will work for me now. And if it doesn't work for me now, and maybe I'm stuck in my old ways, I have to find a new way of playing the game. So reflect, maybe replay some of those formats that you did well in, right? Because once you do well in a format, you usually don't forget how to play it. So there's that. I think reflection is very important in trying to fight discouragement just in general, because going back and learning from your mistakes helps prevent you from doing those mistakes in the future. Number 2, maybe take a break. We're at the end of BT7. You don't have to play in tournaments if you don't want to. If you enjoy the format, go ahead. If you just want to play Digimon for fun, go ahead. Maybe just play with friends. But maybe find something else to do until the format is like done, or, you know, don't take it so seriously. For myself, I'll be playing in a Yu-Gi-Oh! Regional and like a YCS soon, and then a Pokemon VGC tournament in like a month. So like there's other things I could focus on. Or maybe for you it's, you know, go work out, or, you know, spend more time with your family, do something, play that video game you haven't played in forever that you keep telling yourself you're going to go play. Just take a little break, you know. It doesn't have to be long. It can be a day, it can be 2, it can be a week, it can be 2 weeks, you know, until you want to play again, until you really want to like dive right into the format again. take a break, and you'll come back. You'll be rested. You'll look at the game from a different point of view. Myself personally, I won't be taking a long type of break. Like I might take like a day or two off because there's other people in my circle like that depend on me, helping them, and I depend on them helping keep me in the loop. But for Yu-Gi-Oh, I took like a 2-3 month break because I was working on the days that locals was, and now that we have live in-person events, I started playtesting like last week, the week before, something like that. And I was like, man, I really missed this. This was fun. I can't wait to play in the regional. And I think taking a break when you don't want to do something is important. Same for VGC for Pokemon for me, myself, because I wasn't really enjoying the format. I was doing well in the Players' Cups, but then we didn't really have any, so I didn't really want to play in any. I couldn't get into like some regionals. I sold out really quickly, so like there was no real point for me to test. But when the time comes, when I can, then I can dive right in. I bet you I'll enjoy it more. So I think taking a break is very important, guys. Number 3, look forward. So BZ7 is just about done. We have a little bit less than a month. Look at the next set. See if there's anything that piques your interest. But also look behind you as well. Like, try to, because of how Digimon is played and because of how Yu-Gi-Oh is played, where old cards could just come into formats and you don't really know when it's going to happen. Look at those old cards, look at the new cards, try to find synergies, be creative. I think BT is going to be one of those sets where you could be the most creative with your decks because of dual colors and Jogras and like crazy things. I was testing Jesmon recently, and I was like, all right, one Savior, this deck can't be good. It probably doesn't do anything anymore. I was wrong. That deck actually does like a bunch of things, and it still has things I can explore on it. So find a deck that you like in the next format and try to explore on that. And then, look backwards, look at old cards that, like, maybe look at old decks that you think, hey, maybe this wasn't working in the format that it was, but maybe with the new support and with the top decks being the top decks that they are, maybe I can bring it back, throw in some new cards, and it might work wondrously. You never know, guys. That happened for me toward the end of this format where I was like, I didn't really give Lore Knight attention in the beginning of BT7. Like, I gave it, like, 0 attention. And toward the end, I was like, why was I not playing this? Electric Rush is crazy. Like, a majority of the times your boards are so wide, they can't really do anything. So it's not bad to look at old decks, guys, and then, like, try to revamp them and make them work and get creative. Look forward, get creative with it. Number 4, seek to improve. So one of the things that will stop you from being discouraged in card games or in life or anything that you do is try to be a better you than you were yesterday. Like, let's say I play 10 matches and I only win 3, but tomorrow I win 4, and then the day after I win 5, and the day after that I win 6, I'm improving steadily. And then maybe I drop down to 5. But take that drop to be able to learn from what happened between the 6 and the 5. And try to just make yourself better. That's all. Just try to be a better person every day. Try to be a better player every day. Learn something new. And I promise it will help with the discouragement of, not being where you're at. Because for myself personally, I'll look back at BT5 and be like, man, I'm just not on that roll that I was. But maybe I did better in this tournament today than I did yesterday. Or maybe I'm doing better in playtesting today than I did yesterday. Or maybe I'm learning more. So as long as you seek to improve and like try to get those small margins of improvement, you'll do a lot better in not only TCGs, but in whatever you do. Like, let's say it's work. Let's say it's, you want to spend a little bit more time with your family, like maybe an hour, maybe 2, and then like you just go from there. Number 5, repeat all of these steps without insanity. And insanity is just doing the same thing over and over again without getting new results. So try to do these things, but try to find new results in doing them, whether they be bad, whether they be good. Obviously, you want to, improve on the things that you're doing. But I think just not repeating mistakes over and over and over again. Like, let's say I play against a deck, right? Let's say my opponent's playing Imperial, I'm playing Jessamon, and I lose 5 in a row. And the next day I lose 5 in a row. And I don't change a single card in my deck. I lose 5 in a row. I lose 5 in a row. I finally win a game, and I lose 4 in a row. The outlier there is going to be that I got lucky on that one game because the other 19 games, he blew me out. So there was something wrong with the build, there was something wrong with the way I was playing, and I'm just repeating these steps without making any changes. So repeat without insanity. And I think that's going to be it for today, guys. Like that's all I got for you. I know it's a little bit more of a like conversation type of video. You're used to me doing like deck profiles and stuff like that, or like gameplay or talking about the format, but I thought this would be very beneficial toward the end of a format where a lot of people are burnt out on it. And I personally just wanted to talk about this. Maybe a little selfishly. But thank you guys for watching. I appreciate you guys watching. If you like any of this content or just, hearing me talk or want to watch me do some gameplay or even like my hat and my shirt, consider following me on Twitch. Like the video, subscribe, tell people. I think this is like one of the most important videos I could put out there for people because I think this will help a lot of people just get through a few things. So you guys have a great rest of the day. Thank you for watching, and hope to see you soon. Bye.